Sometimes the greatest lesson you can teach someone is not through words, but through silence and absence. When you finally walk away, it forces a woman to confront everything she overlooked, everything she ignored, and everything she thought would always be there. That's when the missing begins. When a man chooses to walk away, something powerful happens that most women never expect. In the beginning, she may feel secure, confident, even careless about losing you. She believes that no matter what happens, you will always stay, always be there, always return when she calls. That belief gives her a sense of control, and in her mind, the balance of power is in her hands. But the moment you walk away with strength, dignity, and silence, the entire dynamic shifts. Suddenly, she realizes that she is not the one in control anymore. You are. Walking away is not weakness, it is strength in its purest form. Because while most people beg, chase, or plead when they feel someone slipping away, you chose something different. You chose self-respect. And when you do that, it forces her to confront the reality that she no longer has the same influence over you. The very attention she used to take for granted becomes rare. The validation she thought she would always receive is gone. And that absence becomes louder than any argument, any conversation, or any explanation. This shift of power is not about playing games, it is about reclaiming yourself. When you walk away, you show her that her actions, her words, or her lack of appreciation have consequences. Suddenly, she has to sit with the silence. She has to sit with the absence of your energy. And for the first time, she begins to feel what life is like without you in it. That's when the missing starts. At first, she might resist the feeling. She may distract herself, surround herself with friends, or even convince herself that your absence doesn't matter. But deep down, the shift has already taken place. The thought lingers. He didn't stay. He didn't wait. He didn't beg. He actually left. And that realization stings more than any words you could ever say, because it tells her, without saying a single sentence, that you value yourself more than you value staying in a place where you aren't respected or appreciated. With time, the weight of that shift grows heavier. She starts noticing the empty space you once filled. The little things she used to overlook now stand out in sharp contrast. The jokes, the conversations, the gestures of care that seemed small at the time now feel irreplaceable. And what cuts the deepest is the fact that she can no longer count on them being there. That security she once had, that belief that you would always stay, vanishes. And when security is gone, it creates longing. This longing is not just about missing your presence. It's about missing the comfort of knowing that someone was always in her corner, someone who chose her, someone who showed up consistently. That comfort disappears when you walk away, and suddenly she feels the weight of emptiness pressing in. That's the shift of power. You are no longer the one waiting, hoping, or proving your worth. She becomes the one who wonders, who questions, who replays moments in her mind late at night. And it's not just about what you did for her. It's about what your absence says about you. Walking away communicates strength, discipline, and self-control. It tells her that you are not afraid of losing her because you know your own value, and nothing shifts power more than a man who is not afraid to be alone, a man who chooses self-respect over temporary comfort, a man who refuses to stay where he is not valued. When she realizes this, the missing intensifies, because deep down, every woman longs for a man with strength, stability, and self-respect. And when you embody those qualities by walking away, she sees them more clearly in your absence than she ever did in your presence. There is a certain power in silence that words can never carry. When you walk away from a woman and choose not to argue, not to explain, not to justify, it does something far more impactful than 1,000 conversations ever could. Silence is heavy, it lingers in the mind, it creates space for thoughts, questions, and realizations to surface in ways that constant talking never allows. When you go silent, she begins to hear the truth in her own head, and that truth can be much harsher than anything you could have said to her directly. At first, she may mistake your silence for indifference. She might tell herself that you are ignoring her out of pride or ego, but as the days stretch on, that silence starts to echo. Every time she checks her phone and sees no message from you, every time she scrolls through social media expecting to catch a trace of your attention and finds none, the weight of your absence grows stronger. Your silence becomes a mirror that reflects her actions back to her. It forces her to confront the reality that she was not listening when you were speaking, she was not appreciating when you were giving, and now she has nothing to respond to. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy. It is self-control. Anyone can raise their voice, send long messages, or plead to be heard, but it takes discipline and strength to say nothing at all. That silence carries a message. I will not fight to be understood anymore. I will not beg for recognition. My absence will show you what my presence was worth. And when she starts to feel that message, the missing begins to burn deeper than if you had shouted or argued your way out. Human beings are wired to chase what they cannot easily access. When you were available, when you kept giving your time and attention, she may not have valued it fully. But when you step back and let silence do the talking, it flips the dynamic. Suddenly, you are no longer predictable. She no longer knows what you're thinking, what you're doing, or if you're even thinking about her at all. That uncertainty eats at her because silence creates mystery, and mystery creates longing. Over time, that silence begins to reshape her perspective. She may replay old conversations, trying to remember the last words you said. She may revisit moments where she dismissed you, wishing she had listened more carefully. The quiet space you left behind begins to fill with her own questions. Did I push him too far? Did I take him for granted? Did I assume he would never leave? And the more she questions, the more she realizes that your silence is not emptiness. It is communication. It tells her everything she refused to hear when you were still present. Even the smallest things can trigger her during this phase. A song, a place you used to visit, a random thought in the middle of the night, all of it now feels amplified because there is no message from you to drown it out. Your silence sharpens those memories until they cut deeper than your words ever could. She might even try to provoke a reaction, sending small hints or testing if you will respond. But when you remain firm in your silence, she has no choice but to sit with the consequences of her own actions. That is why silence is louder than confrontation. Confrontation gives her something to push back against. It gives her a reason to argue, to blame, to avoid responsibility. But silence leaves her alone with herself, and that is where the missing becomes unbearable. Because in that quiet, she is forced to acknowledge that you are no longer giving her the energy, the attention, the validation she once thought would never disappear. When you walk away, something unexpected happens. A woman who once felt secure in your presence begins to face a mirror she had been avoiding. This mirror is not a physical one, but an emotional and psychological reflection. It forces her to look at her own behavior, her own choices, and the way she treated you when you were still there. Your absence becomes the mirror that reflects the truth she didn't want to see. As long as you were present, she could avoid accountability. She could overlook the times she dismissed your effort, ignored your words, or downplayed your importance. Your consistency allowed her to feel like she could always rely on you no matter how she acted. But when you step back, that safety net disappears, and she is left standing face to face with the reality of what she lost. This is the mirror effect. Your absence shines a light on everything she refused to acknowledge while you were giving your all. In that mirror, she begins to replay moments that once felt insignificant. The way you tried to express your needs but were brushed off. The way you showed up but were underappreciated. The way you chose her when she didn't choose you back. These reflections can be painful because they reveal patterns she avoided confronting when you were around. Now, with the silence and space created by your absence, there is nothing to distract her from what that mirror shows. The mirror effect works slowly at first. Maybe it begins with a memory, something small, like the way you used to check on her, or the way you cared about details no one else noticed. That memory triggers another, and soon she is replaying the entire story of your relationship in her mind. But this time she sees it differently. Instead of seeing herself as the one in control, she starts to see herself as the one who missed what was right in front of her. And the longer she looks into that mirror, the harder it becomes to escape the truth of her own role in the loss. The most powerful part of the mirror effect is that it doesn't require you to say anything. You don't have to point out where she went wrong. You don't have to remind her of what you did. Your absence does the work for you. The mirror shows her the imbalance that existed, the effort that was one-sided, the value she didn't recognize until it was gone. That realization hits deeper because it comes from within her, not from your words. When a woman sees her reflection clearly, she cannot deny it. This self-reflection often turns into regret. She may begin to wonder why she didn't listen, why she didn't give back what she was receiving, why she assumed you would always remain no matter how she treated you. The mirror effect makes her question her decisions in a way she never did before. It reveals to her that what she lost was not just a man, It was someone who genuinely valued her, invested in her, and believed in her, even when she gave little in return. That internal confrontation is not easy to escape. She may try to distract herself, bury herself in other relationships, or convince herself that she doesn't care. But the mirror follows her everywhere. The memories, the contrast between your presence and your absence, the way life feels emptier without your energy, it all stares back at her until she can no longer deny the truth. What makes the mirror effect so powerful is that it doesn't fade quickly. Words can be forgotten, arguments can be dismissed, but self-reflection leaves a lasting imprint. Once she sees her reflection through the lens of your absence, she cannot unsee it. And that is when the missing becomes more than just emotional. It becomes a realization of what she had, what she lost, and what she may never find again. When you walk away from a woman, the silence you leave behind doesn't just vanish into thin air. It echoes. The experiences, the words, the gestures, and the memories you created together begin to replay in her mind long after you are gone. This is the emotional echo, a phenomenon where your presence lingers in the form of memories that refuse to fade, and your absence makes those memories even louder. At first, she may not notice it. She might even feel a sense of relief, convincing herself that she's free, that your presence was not as significant as you believed. But as the days turn into nights and the nights turn into weeks, the echo begins. It comes in small, unexpected ways. A place you once went together, a song that reminds her of you, a phrase someone else says that sounds like your voice, and suddenly she feels your absence pressing against her in a way she cannot escape. The echo works because emotions never truly disappear. They attach themselves to moments, environments, and routines. When you were around, she didn't think much of it. She didn't stop to appreciate those moments fully. But when you're gone, those same moments turn into reminders. What once felt ordinary now feels like a loss. The sound of laughter that used to fill her days now becomes a silence she can't ignore. That silence doesn't feel empty. It feels like a reminder of what used to be there. The emotional echo doesn't need your presence to exist. It amplifies itself through her memory. She may try to suppress it, but memory has a way of returning at the most inconvenient times. She could be surrounded by people, smiling on the outside, but internally replaying a simple scene where you once showed kindness, where you once gave her attention, where you once made her feel valued. And the more she tries to push it away, the louder it returns. That's the echo. It haunts her because it carries a truth she can no longer access. Every detail that once seemed small now takes on greater weight. The way you used to check if she had eaten, the way you noticed when she was off, even without her saying a word, the way you laughed at her jokes when no one else did. At the time, she may not have seen these things as extraordinary. She may not have understood the depth of what they meant. But in your absence, those details become magnified. They replay over and over, echoing through her thoughts until she realizes they were never small at all. The emotional echo is not only about memories of you, it's also about the gap left behind. She begins to compare what you gave to what she has now. And the comparison is never equal because when someone genuine leaves, the void they create is impossible to fill with surface-level replacements. This is where regret begins to sink in because the echo keeps reminding her of what she no longer has. Over time, the echo becomes unavoidable. She may try to distract herself, to cover it with noise, with new people, with temporary thrills, but none of it silences the voice of the past. That voice keeps saying, remember what he gave you, remember how he cared, remember how it felt. The more she remembers, the more the echo strengthens and the missing becomes heavier. And the hardest part for her is knowing that the echo will not stop until she acknowledges it. She cannot erase the imprint you left. She cannot undo the memories. And every time the echo repeats, it pulls her deeper into the realization of what your absence truly means. When you finally walk away, one of the deepest realizations that strikes a woman is the fear of replacement. At first, she may not admit it, not even to herself. She might act as if she doesn't care, as if your absence makes no difference. She might distract herself, even pretend she's moved on. But beneath the surface, there is a quiet, growing fear. What if he finds someone else? What if another woman values him in ways I never did? This fear doesn't appear immediately. In the beginning, she believes she still holds a special place, that no matter how far you go, you will always come back. But when days pass and your silence remains firm, when you show strength instead of desperation, that's when the fear creeps in. She begins to picture you giving your time, your attention, your care to someone else. And those images cut deeper than she ever expected. because what she once took for granted now becomes a possibility in someone else's hands. She remembers the way you listened to her, the way you noticed things no one else did, the way you stood by her even when it wasn't easy. And suddenly, the thought of another woman receiving that level of love, that kind of consistency, shakes her in a way she can't ignore. It isn't just jealousy, it's realization. Realization that she had something rare and that she may have let it slip into the hands of someone else. The fear of replacement is powerful because it is tied to both ego and emotion. On one hand, it bruises her pride to imagine that you could move on without her. On the other hand, it hurts her heart to imagine that another woman could experience the version of you she didn't fully appreciate. That combination of pride and emotion creates a storm inside her. And the more she thinks about it, the more she starts to miss what she once had. She may even begin to watch you from a distance, checking if you're moving differently, paying attention to whether you seem happier, stronger, or more at peace. Every sign that you are doing well without her intensifies that fear. Because if you can thrive without her, it means she was not as irreplaceable as she thought. It means the world doesn't revolve around her presence, and that truth is difficult for her to accept. The mind has a way of amplifying fears. Even if you are not with anyone new, even if you are simply focusing on yourself, her imagination begins to run wild. She starts comparing herself to the idea of the next woman, thinking about all the ways someone else could receive what she denied. That comparison becomes a heavy weight because it forces her to see the reality of what she once dismissed as ordinary. It was never ordinary at all. It was rare, and now it is gone. The fear of replacement doesn't just make her miss you, it makes her realize her position is no longer secure. That security she once felt, believing you would never leave, is shattered. She is left with uncertainty, with doubt, with the constant thought that another woman could now be experiencing the best of you. And that thought lingers in her mind over and over until it begins to shape how she feels every time she remembers you. The more she reflects, the more the fear deepens, because deep down, she knows that men who have the strength to walk away are men who are capable of building better lives, better relationships, and better futures. She knows that someone else will see what she failed to see, and that possibility alone becomes enough to make her realize the magnitude of her loss. Regret is one of the heaviest emotions a woman feels after a man walks away. At first, she may deny it, telling herself that losing you is not a big deal, convincing herself that she will move on easily. But as time passes, as the silence grows louder and the void deepens, regret begins to creep in. This regret is not just about losing you, it is about realizing what she had and how she failed to value it when it mattered most. Regret often arrives in waves. One day, she might suddenly remember a small gesture, the way you once supported her without being asked, or the way you gave her comfort when she needed it most. That memory triggers a sharp pang of guilt because now she sees it clearly. She sees the effort, the consistency, and the love she once overlooked. Those realizations stack one on top of the other until she cannot ignore the weight of them anymore. The most painful part of regret is knowing that the chance to change the past is gone. When you were there, she had opportunities to treat you better, to give back the same energy you were pouring into her. But she didn't. She assumed you would always be there, that no matter how much she overlooked your worth, you would never leave. The realization that she was wrong becomes unbearable because it means she lost something rare by her own actions. With realization comes reflection. She begins to piece together all the times she dismissed your needs, all the moments she didn't take seriously, all the times she chose her pride over appreciation. These reflections are not gentle. They cut deeply because they expose the truth that she had control over how things unfolded, and she chose not to value you until you were gone. That truth keeps replaying in her mind like a movie she can't stop watching. Regret also changes the way she views herself. It makes her question her own choices, her own priorities, and even her own worth. She may ask herself why she let someone like you slip away, why she didn't see what she had when it was right in front of her. Those questions have no easy answers, and the lack of closure intensifies the regret. Because unlike disappointment or anger, regret lingers. It doesn't just fade away with time. It grows stronger the more she realizes what she cannot get back. This realization is not only about you, it's about the lesson that comes with losing you. She now understands that love is not guaranteed, that consistency is not something to be taken lightly, and that when a man walks away with strength, it leaves a mark. That mark forces her to face herself in ways she never had to before. It teaches her that not everyone will stay no matter how they are treated. Some men will leave, and when they do, they take their value with them. The depth of regret is amplified by comparison. She might meet other people, she might try to move forward, but nothing feels the same. Every new connection reminds her of what she lost, because no one else carries the exact qualities you did. The realization that you were unique, that what you gave was genuine, and that she may never experience it again makes her miss you more than she ever thought possible. Regret and realization often arrive too late. By the time she feels them, you are no longer chasing, no longer waiting, no longer begging to be seen. That shift changes everything. It forces her to see you in a new light, not as the man who was always there, but as the man who had the strength to walk away. And in that moment, regret turns into longing, and realization becomes the reminder that she lost something she cannot easily replace. When you walk away, you do more than remove your presence. You shift the balance, you silence the noise, you hold up a mirror, you leave behind echoes, you awaken the fear of replacement, and you force regret to settle in. Each stage is a reminder that your value was never in your words or in your chase, but in your decision to choose yourself. The truth is, absence has a power that presence sometimes cannot deliver. It reveals what was overlooked, it highlights what was unappreciated, and it teaches the strongest lesson of all, that nothing should ever be taken for granted. And when a woman finally realizes this, it is not because you argued, begged, or explained. It is because you had the strength to walk away with dignity and let her face the truth on her own.